This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today it's all about the dice, because today we're going to be rolling dice of different colors and putting them together and trying to take out our opponent. Today we're looking at Qwixx Duel. This is a two-player only version of a popular game that I think was once nominated for the Spiel des Jahres, Qwixx. So let's take a look. How is it similar, but yet how is it different from the regular game of Qwixx? And is it for you? Let's take a look. Qwixx Duel comes with a pretty large board, some different dice, and tokens for two different colors for both players. You're trying to have the most points at the end by getting a certain amount of discs on any one color. The more discs, the more points you get for each of those colors. Now this game has a lot of similarities to the game Qwixx that you may have played, but Qwixx Duel also has some differences. For example, one player is the active player each round, and they're going to roll all these dice. Only the active player is going to be moving and doing things on their turn. The other player cannot use these dice. The first thing is, if they want, the active player can add up both the white dice, which is 7, and can place a token if they want to. They don't have to, but let's say they do. When you place a token, you'll place it on any of the colors because you're using the 2 white dice, but anytime you place a token on the board, you cannot place anything to the left of it. You can only go this way, but you can also sometimes go on top of it, which I'll get to in just a moment. After they decide to do this or not, they can take either of the white dice and mate it up with any of the other colored dice. Now, I took a 7 here. I could not take a 7 red because that would put it in the same square, and you can't take the same spot in both of the possible actions. But maybe they don't want to take anything here because, you know, all the smaller numbers are down here for blue and green, all the larger numbers are up here. So it's not really a good choice for me, so I just took the 7 and I'm done with it. Then it would go to the other player. If for some reason I don't or can't take any of them, either both white and or a white of any of these, I would place a token here which is worth 5 at the end of the game. If this is full, that's one of the end game conditions, is a clock towards the end of the game. Then it would be the other player's turn. Now let's just say that we've been rolling some dice. By the way, this game comes with the box itself is a black felt dice rolling sort of board. They're really cool idea to put that black felt there. Well, let's say it's the other player's turn, and let's just say they just start, they follow some rules, and let's say they place one here. Well, that's okay, that's cool. Now let's just say the gray player ends up maybe place one here on their turn, and it's the black player's turn again. Now, if this is the furthest to the right, a player may knock this off. So if it's a single one here, this player might get a red 7, and they could knock this off like this. Also, on a subsequent turn, if you're the furthest one to the right, you can place it. If you take another red 7, you can place another one. And as long as you're the furthest to the right, you can stack as many of these as you want for every red 7 you get, as long as you're the furthest to the right by anything on the red. However, if later on the gray player puts an 8 here, this is no longer the furthest to the right, so this player can no longer be putting these here. Also, let's say the gray player gets at least 2 high over here because it's the furthest to the right. You can only start stacking if it's the furthest to the right, but now this black player couldn't play a red 8 and knock this off because there's 2. But if there was just 1, again, you could knock it off. So whatever the furthest token is, this player is trying to build on top of it. The other player is trying to knock it off. So the furthest token is always the most important one on the board, usually. Now, if you already have 5 tokens on the board, when you get to 12, you also get the lock. And this means the red die would go out of the game, and nobody can take red no matter what for the rest of the game. That's also close to one of the different ways the game ends, is any 2 colors that get locked completely, that ends the game. Either that or having 4 of these, and then you count up all the tokens on each color. Whoever has the most is the winner. And if I only had 1 on a color, I'd get 1 point. But if I had 7 on a color, I'd get a total of 28 points. You'd do this for all 4 colors, then you'd minus any points that you may have here, and then whoever has the most points is the winner. Now, I was a fan of the original Qwixx. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very simple dice game that you can get people into easily, and I like those lighter dice games that are portable, that are easy to teach, fun to play, that yet still have some strategy involved. And it's one of those 3 or 4 that I pull out all the time when I'm trying to teach people new things. In fact, the original Qwixx was the simplest of sort of the sets that I like to carry around for those little dice games, because it's really easy to get people into. Now this game is very similar yet very different, as you can tell. The similarities are obviously there. The dice are getting rolled. You can take both white dice summed together, or you can take one of those white dice with any other colored dice that are there, assuming the dice is still there, and then you're going there. So that part's the same. But there are lots of differences. For, let's say, you've got, you can't use other players' dice. So when it's not your turn, you're not doing anything. And that was a big thing that I liked about the original Qwixx, which was, as people are doing things, you're getting to look at their dice and you're getting to do something on their turn. But in this case, it's not that bad because it's literally only one person's turn that you're waiting for them to figure out what to do. And you're also looking at the board trying to think about, what's he doing? What's he or she doing? What should I be doing after that? So there is a little bit of downtime here where there isn't any in the regular Qwixx game, but I think it's worth it because it does create a different experience. One that's obviously a lot more targeted to each other. The Qwixx game, the original one, is very light. It's very fun. You're working on your own puzzle, and there's really no interactions with the other players other than using the dice that they threw. Where this game is really all about interaction, and it's actually quite mean because you're trying to get as many as you can on a row, but you're knocking each other off. So you're trying to find that time where the other player has the furthest one off. You can knock it off, and you're hoping to stack more so they can't knock you off. And the choices become interesting with this because, you know, the 6, 7, and 8s are typically the ones that get the rolled the most statistically when you have two dice that you're putting together. So what happens is that someone will go out on a specific color and they'll get to the 6, 7, and 8s and they'll start piling them up. And you might not care about that color. Let's say it's red, for example. Let's say you don't even have anything there on red, but you've been working on blue strongly, and maybe you started on green. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna just focus on these two colors. I don't really care about red. You might waste a turn to go ahead of the other player pretty high up. Maybe you get a 10, which means that player is no longer gonna be able to stack things. Because you can only stack if you're the furthest to the right. So sometimes you'll just like waste a move to make sure, you know what, I'm not letting you stack anymore there. You're gonna be able to go further to the right, but you're not gonna be able to stack because I am now the furthest to the right. So it really takes a game that's very similar to the old game, but really twists it so that there's some different strategies and different things to think about. So overall, I liked the game. I liked the differences. For that two-player version. I really like that they had that dice tray. That's such a nice little thing. I don't know why more games don't do this that are dice games. They put that black felt on the inside. It's its own little dice tray. Really cool. Now, the only negative thing I can say is that I don't understand why they didn't do this, but Qwixx itself had come out with like its own little expansion where there were different maps, different ways to score, where it wasn't just one color on a line. There were different colors and the numbers went in different areas, and it gave the game a different flavor, a different feel, and it made you think differently. And I really wish they had just on the back of the board put those expansion or the different types of colors on there. I don't think it would have been that much more expensive, and man, it would have like doubled the replayability value of this. Now with that being said, it's not done. I think, man, it would have been a much better game. It's still a good game, and I still like it as much, if not more, than the original Qwixx because there's more thinking involved. It's more mano-a-mano, if you will. But this game is definitely more, obviously, in your face, more combative. So if you play Qwixx with a second player often, and you like to compete with that player, and you don't mind being mean to each other, then this might be perfect for you. However, like for me with my wife, we play Qwixx a lot, but if it's just the two of us, we don't like to compete and hurt each other in games, so this is not the best fit for us. So with that, you should know if this is for you or not, and that's Qwixx Duel, but I can definitely recommend it because it is a definitely good twist on that game.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for backing me on Kickstarter and making this season become a reality. I'd like to especially thank those here that have backed me at the credit level. Now, these video reviews are also available by audio on our podcast. It's the intros and the final thoughts on GameBoyGeek.com. Click podcast.